This podcast is brought to you by Ideate and Execute. Do you want to drive innovation in your organization, futurize your enterprise, ideate massively valuable new products, or execute them to market? Then contact us today at ideateandexecute.com and get started.
Why listen to the past when you can listen to the future? Welcome to the Think Future podcast, broadcasting from deep in the heart of Silicon Valley, California. We focus on innovation, startups, and the future, not necessarily those and not necessarily in that order. Here's your host.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Think Future podcast. I'm your host, Chris Kalaboukis, and once again, we're coming at you live from deep in the heart of Silicon Valley, California. Show number 205. And today I want to talk a little bit about time. What's the best time of day to innovate? The best time of day to innovate. Some people might say, well, best time of day for me to innovate is after a couple beers. Actually, there's a lot of evidence of the fact that having a drink or two, a little bit of alcohol in the system, actually does help you be a little more innovative. But I digress. So, I don't know if you guys read Dan Pink, but he's really good. I love reading Dan Pink. And his latest book is called When. And it's basically a book on when to do things. I mean, it sounds reasonable, right? The best time to do things. When to do things, as opposed to how to do things, right? And he identified people, just general people in general. And I mean, we know this already. We already know about early birds, so people who love getting up in the morning. And we also understand the people who like to stay up late, right? The ones who burn the midnight oil, that's when they feel the most creative. And as it turns out, the reality is that most people are actually morning people or midday people. There's not that many people who are late people. So 60% of folks are larks or third birds. These are people that he's described as first thing in the morning people or in between folks. And there's a third set of people who are night owls, dedicated night owls. And this may not work for them. This strategy that I'm talking about may not work for them, but that's okay because it works for 60% of folks. And people who are night owls tend to be a little more solitary anyway. So he's found that for most people, these larks and third birds, so early morning people and midday people, who are most people, the morning is great for analytical work, problem solving, straight up solutioning by using standard methods. So the productive time, the work time, right? But if you're looking for creativity, most of your early morning people and midday people will actually be more creative in the afternoon. And this applies to 60% of people out there. 60%. So 60% of your teams will be more creative in the afternoon. They'll do the analytical work in the morning, and they'll do the creative work in the afternoon. So the best time, the absolute best time. Now, some people think this is not a good idea because of lunch is to book your brainstorming sessions right after lunch or in the mid-afternoon. But just like using a diverse team along all axes, people think diversity has to be gender-related and race-related, but not necessarily so. And, I believe that there's no such thing as race. There's only the human race. You need old, you need young, you need different people in different areas. You need a lot of diversity to become innovative. But you'll get more creative ideas having your brainstorming sessions in the afternoon. It'll create trigger more creative, more out-of-the-box thinking. But if you want the ultimate in creative thinking, then you need a diverse team in a crazy mixed-up space in the afternoon. That's right, all three axes. A diverse team in a crazy mixed-up space, not in a creative space, because I've said this before, the space makes a big difference. The space that you happen to be in makes a big difference. And I see these things about all these people talking about how your environment makes a much bigger difference in the way you are and the way you work, whether you're creative or productive, than you think. So for the ultimate in creativity, you need a diverse team in a crazy mixed up creative space in the afternoon. Best ideas come out of taking these people, putting them in the same room, giving them a few guidelines, almost a vision statement, and let them think. Well, the actual process really depends on what you're looking for as the outcome of the session. But the time of day really does make a difference. Early morning meeting starts can sometimes be difficult. Sometimes your attendees have a tough time detaching themselves from the day-to-day issues, especially if the outcome of the session, what you're looking for is to develop strategic plans for anything but the very near future time frame. By the time the afternoon is around, your team's minds have been warmed up. After facing the most concrete problems of the day in the morning, they're free to relax more, to allow other thoughts to wander in. This is where I was talking about the alcohol, right? Sometimes having a drink or two actually does help to loosen things up. Let the other thoughts wander in. Form those all-important juxtapositions. And a lot of innovation is juxtapositions. It's juxtapositions of two random things put together that maybe were never meant to be put together, but were just put together in your brain, and you're like, wait a second. One of the most innovative ideas that came out of one of our sessions was taking two completely disparate things, completely disparate. You'd never think that these two things would ever go together. And you just slap them together, and you go, whoa, wait a second. That's interesting. And not only is it interesting, it's actually the idea that whistled through the patent process. This is the fastest I've ever had a patent issued for this idea. And it's combining these two things in such a novel way that I'm assuming that when it landed on the patent examiner's desk, they were like, wow, I've never heard that before. But basically it was a combination of two completely different things juxtaposed. And it generated a phenomenally new, different, and novel concept. Letting the discussion flow is also really important. Let the team toss ideas around, each building on the other, riffing and expanding as you go. Don't slow them down. Don't point them in a direction. Let them bounce around. And while they're bouncing around, capture the ideas in a visual way. Write down what they're saying. Write diagrams. Do workflows. This is really helpful when it comes to generating disruptive new ideas. So, like I said, leveraging the time of day, the composition of the team, and even the space you're in will help make sure that your minds, your team's minds, are more pliable and open to new angles. I mean, and isn't that exactly what you need when you're developing potential new billion-dollar businesses? That's it for me for today. See you next time, and until then, don't forget to think future.